All right, so the first thing we'll do is we'll want to start a new sketch. So there's two ways you can do that. The first one is from the desktop here. You just come over and hit new from this icon here. The other is from within Gravity Sketch, where you've got two carousels. If you have the headset on, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll have two carousels that have your saved files. One's from the landing pad, which is the cloud platform where you can save files and images and all sorts of stuff. And on the right is where you actually have your locally saved files. But in the middle, you'll have a big red plus sign. So you just click that, and that opens a new sketch. And you'll have this scene here. So in this scene, you have your symmetry plane and your world axis. So you can toggle those on and off under settings. I usually once I have this on, I usually have the mirror plane on just so I know which kind of axis is being symmetried, and then I'll turn the world axis on as well, just so I know the axis in which I'm building. So that's kind of a basic setup to understand the scene itself. So once you have that kind of setup, you can go through and kind of customize this however you like. The next thing you want to do is maybe import some reference images. So you can either pull stuff from the landing pad or from your local computer. I'll just pull some of these car sketches in. I've got a bunch here. Just grab this one. Maybe another one by Craig. This one here. So you can see here that they have these anchors over them. When they're blue, that means they're actually not anchored, or maybe they are anchored, I don't know. But they're floating in the space, so they're kind of always in that location. What I want to do is kind of set them so they always stay in the same spot in the scene. So I'll just hover over them with my grab sphere. They turn blue, and on your left hand there, when you grab them, that little anchor comes up, you hit the blue button, and that locks them to your scene, so they'll move with your model. So that way, if you're working in perspective, from this view or something, you can always view them. I'm going to turn off my symmetry plane now, just because it does leave like a dark plane there. I don't want that right now. So we'll just hide that. It's still leaving symmetry on. But again, you can place these images wherever you want. Usually if I'm working in the front 3/4, I'll put it behind the vehicle so I can look at it from the same view, and side on the side. And if it's a rear view, the same view that I'm working on. But that's how I work. So once you have those images in there, maybe you're using those as reference for a styling image. The next thing you might want to do is import reference data. So if you're given package layout or wheelbase, or maybe you've made another car and you kind of want to use that as an underlay, you can do this. You can do that by importing it. So underneath your reference images here, you'll have prefabs. This is where you have the mannequins and some built-in objects. What I'm going to do is come over here to import models, and I will use these ones that I have here just as an example. So I think I'll pull in this F5. This is one that I made before. So once you click on it, you'll see it'll load kind of a 3D thumbnail there. That one's oriented that way. So I'll just take that, grab it, and pull it over here. And from there, you'll see it gives you a preview. And from here, you can set the scale at which it was made. So that'll just scale it up really big. I believe this was made in millimeters, so that should be 1:1. You can also set the axis at which you want it to be symmetried. I'm going to leave it on this one because I know it was built on this plane. So I'll just leave that there. I'll bring in some wheel. Oh, sorry. Once you drag it in here, you have to confirm it. And this will actually, if you hit locate preview, it'll put it, or say it gets scaled up. Maybe it comes in bigger than you want and you kind of can't see it anywhere. You just hit locate preview and it'll put it in the center there. But I know this is going to be millimeters, so I'll drag that down, zoom in, and then I will hit confirm. And then that's it in the scene. I also have, I believe I have some tires. Yep, these tires here. I don't actually know if they match up with this car, but I'll just grab them, drop them there. Yeah, so you can see these are on a different axis, so I'll just rotate them around so they're in the correct view, and we'll hit OK. I'll move them in a second, so then I know those tires are in the scene, and then I can grab them and move them where I want. We'll just place them down here. These are probably made in a different location, and it's a different wheelbase, so they don't quite fit this model, but this is just an example of bringing in data that you might use as reference. So that covers importing data. I'm actually just going to scale these images down so everything fits in the scene here. I'm actually just going to delete these and show you how I might start from scratch, like if you're not starting with anything. It's very similar to what I've done before. So I'll just start laying out this circle here. I'll half pull on my left trigger and snap it to this axis here, and I'll just draw a circle. I'm actually going to make that a little bit smaller. In this sense, I don't really have the set size, but this might just be an ideation sketch where the scale doesn't really matter. I'll just put it on the ground, make that a little bit smaller. So then I'll just copy and paste using Smart Move, drag that back, copy and paste again, do that one more time, and that'll just set the wheelbase. So I'll just start with one here, and then you'll have 3 wheels between, and another one here. That's always a pretty decent starting point. And then I'll copy and paste, stick that here just to make it 3 wide, and then I'll copy and paste that out. And then I can just grab all of these and drag it to that width there. And then I'll just delete these. So now I've got, this is a pretty good starting point for a sketch. I'm just going to make these black just so they're similar to my sketch line. And from here, you could just start sketching out random lines, whatever you want. If you're going to follow an image there, you can do that as well. But I'm going to show you kind of a new technique I've been using recently, especially if you're not working from an image. I'll just leave these up because they're pretty cool. Maybe there's some neat detail stuff I'll pull from it. But again, yeah, this is just using the ink tool. So under your tool palette here on the top, I prefer just the ink tool with the taper mode on. It just gives a decent dynamic kind of sketch line. But for in this instance, like say I'm exploring with shapes, I will come back to the ink tool and come here to the ribbon. I've been using this quite a bit. It's just a flat, here, let's change the color a little. It's just a flat ribbon, obviously. But it kind of can be used to fill in volumes. So say you don't have any of these sketch lines and you're just trying to play with volume. You just build stuff out. It's a good way to kind of experiment. Maybe you're doing something here and it kind of fills in the form. And it's kind of like seeing shapes in clouds. Maybe you're just doing some random stuff just to pull a sketch out of. So that's one thing I've been doing recently, because now you can do a multi-edit. First, I'm going to put these wheels on a layer here. Actually, we'll just do that with these sketch lines. Actually, yeah, okay, so everything's on that one. And I'm going to just lock that so I don't edit them. And I'm going to grab all these lines and put them on this layer here. And I'll do one more so I can put my reference images on that, and I'll lock that as well. So now I'm working on this kind of volume. It's just filling it in. Maybe you can do different colors. It'll give you some shadowing or something. Maybe some darker areas. Maybe you'll start to see stuff in there. It's all really random, but the best thing is because now you can do multi-edit. So if I hover over all of this and hold my grip, and then on the left hand, hold down the edit button. Instead of hitting it once, just hold it down, it'll vibrate. And now you'll see all the points for all of these surfaces, or all of these ribbon strokes. And now I can use my move tool to kind of start playing with all this volume. It's a bit sculptural, maybe it's not very precise, but it's kind of just playing around with forms. And then you can add to that the fall off or the soft selection. So on your right hand here, you'll make the grip sphere bigger and smaller. But if you hold down the right grip and pull back on the trigger or up on the trigger, that'll make that inner sphere bigger or smaller. That's going to be your fall off area. So you'll affect things in the center of that more than on the outside. So we'll just leave it like that. I'll make it a little bit smaller. So now when you come over and intersect, you'll see everything in that purple sphere is being affected more than things on the blue sphere there. Let's just make that a little bit smaller. And then I'll make this bigger so I can affect a kind of wider area. And then you can start pushing and pulling out volumes. This might be good for spaceships or whatever. But this is a really great functionality just to kind of rough things in. You can make that smaller, just grab a few points. But this is really, really great. And again, this can be used just to see things. Maybe you see something in that, you can start sketching over it. So that's how I've been using that ink tool to kind of ideate. Yeah, so once you've got stuff kind of roughed out and maybe you start to see things, you can start sketching. What I'm going to do just for this demo is bring something in that I've made just to kind of streamline this process. So you can come back to your prefabs, and I'll come to import models, and then I've got to find this one here. Oops, click on that, drag it here. Okay, yeah, it's a bit different sized, that one, but that's okay. So I will just click that. So let's just come over to layers. I don't know what these were. Oh, so that was all put on one layer. I'm actually just gonna have to delete all of these. That's okay. Just so I can get to, I didn't plan this well, but just so I can get to this sketch here. So yeah, so then we'll just unlock that. So this is an example of, maybe something you've built before. So you can actually import other Gravity Sketch models as well into your scene. So the way you do that, well, you're going to want to create the prefab first. So you'll come down to your prefabs, and then all you have to do is, we'll just do the wheel here. Oh, that's all grouped. I'm going to ungroup it. So we'll just grab the wheel, and when you grab it in space, come over and hit drop stuff here to make prefab. So drop that there. We will just call this wheel. So now that's a prefab, and you can, there, it just saved it there. So now you can import that anytime you want. I'm not going to do it now just because it'll put it over that one. I don't want that. So first thing I'm going to do is just clean this up. This was a previous made wheel from another file. I'll just put these over here and hide that. One thing it does do is bakes the mirror onto it when you do that. So just be aware of that. Right, so I just spent a minute there reorganizing this file, renaming some layers, and symmetrying these sketch lines here, just so I can work with them for this next part of the demo. To get to these lines, it's pretty much the same process as my last video series. It's just sketching using the ink tool, and drawing out your design lines. Again, with what I just showed with the ribbon tool, one of the cool things now, though, is being able to edit all these at the same time. So if you have stuff kind of laid out that you want to manipulate all together, like maybe this corner needs to come out, it's really easy to do that. Maybe this does something here. So it's kind of an interesting way to manipulate the sketch, and kind of use the character lines to define the volume versus actual surface data. So if I wanted to kind of edit the plan view of this front splitter here, or even the A-pillar, I can now edit these all together. So I get a little more consistent line work with these tools. It works really well on kind of on the corners, kind of establishing, the width of the vehicle in the front and rear. So you'll see me do that a bit more. I'm really just going to time lapse this part. It's very repetitive. Design is very subjective, so it's up to you to kind of come up with the design. But I'll just time lapse over me creating some more detail on the front, and I'll talk over that while I do it. The rear needs a bit of design work, so you'll see that evolve a little bit over time. So yeah, sit back and enjoy. I'll do this pretty quickly so we can move on with this series. All right, see you in a bit. So this is the time-lapse portion of this video. It's going to last for the duration, so about the next 5 to 6 minutes. You can skip ahead to the next part or sit through this if you want. But what I'm doing is really just adjusting some lines on the front here and trying to come up with a cohesive design throughout the vehicle. I'm going to start sketching in some rough lines and trying to come up with sections for that front opening, and really just kind of exploring some forms and moving things around. This initial sketch was just done quickly and roughly, so I didn't really have a design in mind for it. But that's pretty much the process through the rest of the video is draw some lines, adjust some lines, come up with some detail areas, thinking about how I want to approach some of the surfacing later on in the video series. So I started to add a little detail to the hood here, thinking about how there might be an out event out of the hood there. Just trying to incorporate some interesting areas that can create some neat topology construction items for when I get into the subdivision modeling. You can see there I was able to use the multi-edit to kind of edit the roof rail. Now I'm just going to move on to the body side and start thinking about this other vent and drawing a section line through where I think the core of that body surface is going to go on the side there. Again, I use the multi-edit tool here just to adjust that wheel arch flat, just to get it to fit a little bit better, just kind of tweaking the points around. It's not perfect, but it's just a rough draft of some sketch lines there. Now moving on to the cabin and starting to adjust some of those lines, and then I'll rework that rear wheel arch as well. You can see it's a bit wobbly because I had to just copy and paste the original curve that I made and scaled it up kind of to make the wheel flat itself. Yeah, the rear, it needs the most work, so I'm not really going to talk through it. I just start drawing lines and seeing what I like. Near the end, you'll notice I was able to use the multi-edit functionality to kind of tweak the rear corner a lot more. I spent quite a bit of time getting that taillight shape to work relatively nicely to what I thought might be an interesting design to the rear. So I'm just going to turn on a couple songs here, and you can just watch till the end, and then we'll see you in the next part. All right, see you again.